Started from the bottom, all I had was a dream. Always been alone, never really had a team. Cause the loyalty is suspect, nothing's what it seems. As I'm counting all this money, thinking how to make it clean. Never been broke, see I always had a job. And before I learned to hustle, I was taught how to rob. Nice with the hands, but I'm iller with the shot. Battling depression cause it's lonely at the top. Drinking all this Henny just to try and ease the pain. Though I never had regrets, there's some things that I wouldn't do the same. I would never change for some change, and I never let the sneak distance take me out my game. I'm a grown man. Unless it's for my kids, I don't hold hands. Cause they hate it when you focused on your own plans. So I gamble with my money, I don't gamble with my life in the street. Cause you only get one bottle of that Henny and I mix it with some Red Bull. Got a couple pills that I'm popping for the pain. What's going on? My name is Marcus Whitley, and yes, this is Good Behavior. Now, in this episode, I have a special guest with me by the name of Randy, who is a correctional officer. You want to say hi to the viewers?
How you doing? What's going on?
So, this is an interesting episode because we're both on two different sides of, well, let's say the law. And the first question I want to ask is, how did you become a correctional officer? What made you want to be one?
When I was younger, I always wanted to be a police officer. Then I joined the military, and I saw what the government was. Mm-hmm. And local police departments is a microcosm of that dynamic. And I quickly realized that I don't want to do that.
Okay.
Then I said, what would be the next best option that would benefit me, my personality, and my option to retire, not having to work my whole life. Mm-hmm. What do I mean by my personality? I'm not an office type guy. I need the dynamic of not knowing what's going to happen day to day.
Okay.
Corrections being the most isolated, violent society in the world, and the uncertain eventuality of anything could happen, I went that route.
Okay. Now, growing up, did you always know that's what you wanted to do, or were you ever influenced by the streets and unsure of where you wanted to go in life?
No, my uncle was a drug addict and pretty much a criminal, mm-hmm. In his life. So I knew what I didn't want to be.
Okay.
I knew I wanted whatever I did to be fruitful in a positive manner. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I always wanted to be in law enforcement. I was an infantry soldier for 4 years. Then I went back to school, became a military police officer for 4 years before I ETS'd. So I knew in civilian life it would be law enforcement one way or another, and it happened to be in the sheriff's department.
Okay. Now, the first time that you stepped inside of a prison, was it anything like you expected it to be?
It was I have an aggressive personality, so it wasn't a shock. It was more of a shock dealing with administration than it was being in the environment of a violent environment like a prison. It was more just dealing with the administration and all the bullshit you got to deal with them. But no, it wasn't too bad.
Okay. I mean, maybe for me it was a little bit different my first time there because I wasn't going home. So I seen it my perspective was different because I'm like, all right, this is my home now for the next 6 years. Mm-hmm. And I mean, for the COs, it's more like it's a job. But, you know, some of the buildings are more intimidating than others. And I know, like I said, for me, the moment I stepped out of that van and I saw the walls and the bars and the barbed wire and all that for the first time, like that was intimidating.
Well, I will say this. again, my personality is a lot different. And I spent my whole career training officers. I was in the staff development side as well as the correction side. I
Okay.
did a dual job. I wasn't strictly in the training side. I was corrections and training.
Okay.
With that being said, a lot of people that I would put through the academies would come in, and this happened quite a few times throughout my 22-year career. They would come in and quickly realize this wasn't for them, put down their keys and walk out. I'm talking a week after graduating from academy, a month after graduating, maybe a year after graduating. It ran the gamut. So the environment is an intimidating environment for some, whether no matter what side you're on. But again, I'm too stupid to be intimidated. That's my issue, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, when I say intimidated, I don't mean by like the people in there or being scared of anything. It's just the fact that this is where I am now. For
I totally understand what you mean. I totally understand. People couldn't fathom on my side of things working in that environment and being locked in there, even though they were going home at the end of the day.
yeah,
They couldn't fathom that. And I've also talked to inmates that really couldn't handle that dynamic either. Some grow to handle it, be able to handle it. Some never can handle it. Some have committed suicide because they couldn't handle it. Some broke down and had psychotic breaks, and a lot of things happen.
right. And they don't have that option of dropping off the keys and going home. Like
Exactly.
you're stuck in that environment. So yeah, it's a difficult situation, but it really opens your eyes. But even though it opens your eyes, like you're still stuck in that situation until your time is up. Now, so you said you were on the training side and the correction side, so you were working one-on-one with the inmates as well. Now,
My whole career. While I was in the academy as a recruit, the trainers, the DIs and stuff, noticed something about me and asked me while I was in the academy if I would think about joining the training cadre as well. And sure. So as soon as I graduated, I started teaching academies.
so do you feel like you like that more, or did you like working inside with the inmates more?
I like anything I do. Anything. I both sides. I loved both sides because it tested me.
Okay. Now, being inside and seeing the environment that the inmates lived in, what did you notice about the way that they lived and the way that they carried themselves in there?
I learned a lot from first, within the department I worked in, the sheriff that was running our department at the time, Sheriff Mike Ash, he you ever hear the term concrete jungle? So those prisons that are just straight concrete and no flowers and all this other stuff, on the grounds, and just they breed a certain type of mentality. When you have an environment where there's beautiful flowers around and there's nice grounds and the way they set up, it softens the mentality. I learned that was pretty interesting to me. But there are still some within that environment, inmate wise, that tried to fulfill that whole outlook or mentality surrounding being tough and this and that. Those are the types that it didn't matter how much programming you offered, they weren't going to gravitate towards those programs. and help themselves to get out of there, or that type of mindset. But so yeah, I learned a lot about that. Why the sheriff set up the grounds the way he did.
Okay.
And then watching how it impacted people. In our department, it was one officer to every 77 inmates. So that means if I had a living unit and I had 77 inmates, it was just me in that living unit as the officer. As soon as they put a 78th inmate in that unit, then they put another officer with me. And we went as high as 108 inmates in the living unit. And dealing with the inmate population also taught me a lot, because we dealt with people from all over the world, all different types of nationalities and personalities. And then I got to learn about operating systems. Different cultures come with different operating systems, and you have to deal with each person accordingly, understanding their culture. Because certain things I can say, or certain ways I interact with, say, a Jamaican, I couldn't interact with a Vietnamese person, or it runs the gamut. So, very, very important lessons were learned on how to deal with people and interact with people in order to keep the peace within the living unit.
Okay. Now, I mean, I can speak on what you were saying about the mentality, because for me, the first 3 years of my sentence, I had that hateful mentality. I didn't want to do any programs and anything. Like, I still had that mind, when I come home, I'm going at everybody. And I was just angry the whole time. But after that 3 years, something clicked, and I had conversations with people, and I was able to really open my eyes and see that, okay, I can't keep living like this. And that's when I decided to start taking advantages of the programs and schooling and everything that I could do to try to put myself in a better situation when I got home.
Indeed.
So it was a process, but like, the most important thing is you have to want it.
That's the key. That is the key to it. Exceptions don't make the rule. There are a small number of exceptions. You are one of the exceptions who took a bite of that apple and ran with it. You let the programs benefit you. You worked hard. You wanted something more.
Right.
A lot of these kids, like I said, the exceptions don't make the rule. If we go with percentages, I would say 5% want something out of life. The other 95% are exactly where they want to be, and their actions prove it. I've been in the experience of dealing with people that I've processed out of the jail, and they went back into the parking lot, leaving and reoffended to get rearrested. We've rearrested people in the parking lot, brought them back in because they weren't comfortable being out, institutionalized.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. Like, it's hard for people to function because they're so used to that. And now, as soon as you walk out that gate is when responsibility hits. And I mean, not everybody's built for that. But that's the thing too. Like, you have to want it. You have to stay focused. You got to be hungry, and you got to be motivated.
Yeah.
But a lot of people get comfortable in there, and being comfortable in there is a scary thing.
But even before that, I come from the same neighborhoods these people come from. Many times in the jail, they were people I grew up with. They were family members of mine. And I grew up in the same neighborhoods, same streets. We hang in the same group of friends, And I always ask people who say, well, I didn't have a chance in life. I didn't this and that. Again, coming from the same neighborhoods, I say to them, well, in any neighborhood, you have that house in the neighborhood, the Johnsons or the whoever, who have a solid family, who the kids are doing well, this and that. And then you have a couple of houses where kids went to jail, kids died, kids this, kids are on drugs. And I always ask, how do you account for that one family that's still in the same neighborhood, but doing well? Grew up in the same environment. It's all about choice. It's all about choice. And there are those exceptions in neighborhoods where, the mother of the, let me tell you. So one day I was at work, I was in the jail, and I was at this position called T4. T4 runs the movement throughout the jail. All out of the living units, the towers, going to programs. Everybody calls out their inmate through T4. Says, hey, T4, I got one coming out of B4 going to visiting or whatever. You call that position T4. He controls all the movement through the facility. So I was T4, standing there, and this young woman came out of the tower when we had women in our unit or in our facility. Came out, and I was like, oh my God, how old are you? This woman was like 17.
Wow.
I was like, oh, she was very little. I was like, what are you doing here? Well, 17 years old, 18 years old, whatever she was, she started dating some like 25, 26, 27-year-old, and he got her hooked on drugs.
Wow.
Yeah. It hurt my heart. So I talked to her for a minute. She went to visiting. When I got off that night, I used to work 4 to 12 at the time. I got off at midnight. I went to CVS, bought a card. I bought 2 cards. I bought one from my mother and one for my ex-wife at the time, my second wife. No, my first wife, excuse me. Bought it from my first wife, my daughter's mother. And I went and dropped the card off to my mother in her mailbox, and I dropped one off to my ex-wife's house. And I dropped, and just to thank them that my mother didn't sell me into sex slavery or something crazy like that, and that my daughter's mother took great care of my daughter. What I'm saying is this, those kids that are like, they're born and then their mothers are drug addicts or something like that, and they end up, giving them away to somebody, whatever. Mm-hmm. Those issues I can understand. But when you grow up, like I did, I grew up, I had friends, I had this, I had that. There were some friends went to jail for drugs. Some friends died. Some friends this, that. But I made a decision to, So that's what I'm saying. We all come from the same neighborhoods. You just make a decision, Yeah,
I mean, and then like staying committed to it. Because some people, they give up when it gets hard. Mm-hmm. And that's something like you have to push through, because it's not always going to be easy. Matter of fact, like 90% of the time isn't going to be easy. But one thing I want to ask too. All right, because everybody sees all these movies and TV shows about prison. Mm-hmm. I want you to give your perspective on how accurate that is, of what it's really like in prison.
Like I said, prison is the most isolated, violent society in the world. From an officer's side, everybody hates an officer because he has a badge. Mm-hmm. And he is pretty much regulating everything done in that jail through policy. So he's handing out toilet paper, he's handing out soap, he's feeding you, he's doing this, he's doing that, and he's calling the inmate on their bullshit, whatever is going on. right? So they're the police officer inside the jail in that environment. When it comes to those TV shows out there, like Oz and all those different TV shows depicting jail, there are some truths to it. There are some over exaggerations. There are some parallels, some strong parallels. It runs the gamut. I've dealt with all types. I've dealt with murderers, rapists, jaywalkers, you name it. I've dealt with them. I've also had to check my coworkers because of their attitudes towards inmates. I'm a fair person, and I don't care if you're an inmate or an officer. If you're wrong, you're wrong. I don't care if you're an administrator. I don't care. It didn't matter to me who you were, and you were going to hear it from me. So I've had to check coworkers. I've had to check inmates. And then there were inmates that were better men and women than my coworkers.
Because I've met some great people who are lifers in there, and they realize like they weren't living the best life, but they were some of the most knowledgeable, respectable people in there, and that's why you can never really judge a book by its cover
At all.
And there was quite a few COs who would have that power trip and just think they're gonna come in and do whatever they want or bully you or just act like you're less than human. And that's why I try to stay far away from them as possible and have the least amount of interaction with them. But yes, I can't say it was a good experience because it was horrible, but I learned a lot from it, and I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for going through that. So that is something I gotta say. I'm blessed that I'm here, and I'm grateful that I was able to take away everything that I did from it. Now, back to being in there and the way that the inmates lived. Do you feel, did they ever try to test you a lot, or did they just respect you right off the jump?
Yeah, they test the waters, see how far they can how far they can go, what they can get away with. The thing about me is I'm a writer, and I can articulate anything. So the thing became, first thing, I knew policy inside and out. So anytime they expressed discontent or concern about anything, I tell them, your problem is not with me. It's obvious your problem's with the policies. So I encourage you to reach out to the sheriff and speak to him about the policies that he employs within this facility. Again, I'm your focal point, but your problem is with the policy, not me. And then I recite the policy to them about whatever subject we're talking about. So yeah, they would test. Some would test. It'd get physical. Some just would try to push the limits until they realized it wasn't going to work. And there's nothing for me to argue about. There were so many avenues that I could go in order to deal with the situation. I could call special ops to get them out of my unit when I was running living units. I was special ops for a long time. So I was the guy coming in to get people out of units for a while. Within our department, we rotated to every position. So whatever, I do 9 months in the living unit, then do a year in special ops, then do a year in transport, and do a year in the kitchen, then do, so it would, whatever position I was in, you'd have people that would test. When I worked in the kitchen, you'd have people stealing food. You'd have people, doing whatever they're doing in there that they're not supposed to do, or, some things you would let slide. Some things, it would run the gamut. Because, sometimes, food's scarce. So I'm not a real stickler on the food. All right, you can take that back, or, it's just, it depended.
Yeah. Because, I'm not going to lie. Like, with me, I hated... There was times my mom would try to send me money, and I didn't like that. So when I was working, it was the recycling. We would go get toilet paper, soap, sponges, everything, and we bring them back and give them to the units. Of course, I would pocket as much as I could, go back, and I was hustling. Like I'm trying to make money to the point where I was doing so many different things where I was able to start sending money home to her and putting money to the side. And because I hated the fact that I had to look forward to her, depend on her sending me money. And that was going to break me. So I'm like, I got to stop this. So, I can't say didn't want to do. I did what I had to do. But, yeah, I got lucky. I never got knocked for it. But yeah, sometimes you in a situation you gotta do what's, I can't say right for you, but you gotta make hard choices. So yeah, but I'm not gonna sit there and say I'm a thief or a bad person because of it.
Yeah, no. And in the environment, there's going to be some type of hustling going on. It's just, there's in my assessment, there's mild hustling and then there's illegal hustling.
Yeah.
And if I as an officer give somebody an extra tray, it's okay. Maybe they did a little bit of extra work, or I didn't have to talk to them 17 times, or
Right.
things like that. Or if I went to the commissary and got some commissary for them because I know they were kind of strapped and they really didn't have anything. I did things like that. I'd let an inmate out who wasn't a worker and say, hey, could you clean the weight equipment for me? And over there they wipe it down, and I'd give them a bag of commissary or something. And then if they took that commissary and flipped it, it is what it is.
Yeah, I noticed so many different hustles in there. Like, people would be washing clothes, people would be cleaning sneakers, people would be cutting hair. Yep. And then, like, everybody, to see the way that people were true hustlers.
Yep.
Because you can't call yourself a hustler for selling drugs, because everybody knows that they want drugs already. So you're just the person giving them to them. But a true hustler is going to be able to go out and do anything and bring clientele in.
And I would, if I could, I would talk to the person. If I see somebody hustling real good, like flipping commissary or whatever. And this is the one conversation I used to have with inmates all the time. I said, explain to me, with the energy that you're putting into what you're doing right there, why you couldn't make it on the street, right? And I tell them, what could you do when you get out of here where it wouldn't matter that you had a criminal record? And they'd start looking at me and I'd go, I'll tell you what. Buy some vending machines. Get some locations. You can put them in. I said, and you can make money without even being there. All you got to do is go fill them every month or whatever you got to do. Go to BJ's, buy some stuff, and go fill your vending machines. Collect the money. Pay the percentage to the place that you put it in there. 20%, whatever you're paying, and take the rest and bank it. I said, so all the hustling you're doing right here, you stack your chips, you buy one vending machine, then buy two, then buy three, then buy four, and you got them all over the city. I said, you'll make so much money. People become millionaires off of vending machines.
And It's crazy. Like that's what I try to teach the kids that I work with in the school. I try to show them that, and that's what made me start this podcast, is to try to show, like, if you can sell drugs, you can sell anything, and you can be able to make money off of anything, whether it's selling T-shirts.
Yep.
I mean, when I was in first grade, I was going to buy candy from the penny store and going out and selling it for 50 cents, 75 cents, $1, and I was selling toys. I'm like, no matter your age, you can flip anything, as long as you set your mind to it. Like, you don't have to do illegal things.
Yep.
But I went through what I went through to learn things, but now that made me want to give back. So, like I said, I took away a lot from it.
I can tell you, I've known you since you were this high, running around, and when you went through what you went through, shocked the hell out of me. But I've seen you since then, since you got out, and the things you've been doing, and I got to tell you, I'm proud of what you've become.
I appreciate that. I can't stop. I feel like I have to use my mistakes to be able to help other people, so they don't have to make the same ones. And I'm going to keep going until I can't anymore. But, okay, I got a question. What was the craziest thing that you've seen while working in the jail? I'm sure viewers would love to hear that.
There's so many, I can, I'm gonna answer that, kind of go the long way, but let me say this. So me and my wife now, we talk about a lot of things. We watch all these different shows and stuff, and we end up talking. So the other day we were watching a show about Navy SEALs. It's called Six. It's a good show. It only came out, had 2 seasons, and then they cut it for whatever reason. They were supposed to come out with a 3rd season, but I don't know what's going on. But anyway, so it's about this team of Navy SEALs, and there's all types of crazy stuff going on. But within that show, they hang with themselves. It's just them and their wives and this and that, and so me and my wife end up talking all the time, and I'll pause the TV and I'll tell her. So I told her the other day, I said, you see how they hang with themselves? Their wives hang in the group, they hang with each other, and this, that. I said, the reason they do that is because they're in such a unique profession where they see so many things that the normal person could never fathom, that if they hung in civilian groups, their personality, their sense of humor, their demeanor would not be accepted. So they have to hang with like-minded individuals. I say all that to say this. Within correction officers, when you're there a certain amount of time, it changes you. That job itself changes you. First, everybody's always trying to get over on you. When it comes to the inmate population, they're trying to see how far they can push you, what they can get out of you. And a lot of corrections officers end up breaking. I've had throughout 22-year career, a good amount of my coworkers have been fired for having sex with inmates, fired for bringing drugs in, fired for you name it. Right? They call it the downing of the duck. That's when the inmate talks you into doing something, that jeopardizes your career and the safety of the facility and your coworkers. Downing of the duck. Many people have went down as a result of that. Now, with that being said, I've seen people fall victim to being finessed romantically, monetarily, you name it, bringing in contraband, this, that. I've seen people get beat up, coworkers get beat up and medically retired. I've seen inmates. I seen an inmate. This was crazy. He slit his own throat in the shower and bled out. No blood left in this man's body. Found him maybe 2 hours later. He was in the showers running for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is going on? All right. Craziest thing. Seeing people. We had this one inmate who he got arrested for, I believe he was molesting his own daughter and filming it. He hung himself. And then a coworker ended up saving his life. I cut him down. We got him down, and my coworker did all this, pumping his chest and doing all this and saved his life. Craziness.
That's a tough choice, though, because it's like, knowing what he did, would you want to save him? Or do you feel like you have to save him?
That's where the professionalism comes in. One thing I would never do, I didn't look up inmates' charges. I treated everybody the same. Didn't matter what you came in for, because I didn't know half of the damn time. Unless it was broadcast all over the news and I happened to watch the news, which I didn't. When I had that job, I refused to watch the news because, But I wouldn't look up charges unless I got threatened. Once you threaten me, I look up charges, where you lived, and your release date. Other than that, I didn't look up charges. Professionalism comes in. You treat everybody the same. Everybody, I called Mr. or Mrs., whatever their last name was, and yes, sir, yes, ma'am. That's the way I interacted with inmates, no matter how old, no matter how young. I treated everybody the same.
Okay. I mean, I feel like it's easier when you don't know.
Yep. I seen the guy, this inmate, go after another inmate, and the inmate hid under the table, and this other inmate punched at him, and the lip of the table caught him, and he pulled his arm back and cut all the tendons in his arm and ripped all his skin, so his arm was just exposed and just blood everywhere. Craziness. I've seen inmate jam a pencil through his neck up into his head. I've seen an inmate climb up on the desk and dive off head first onto the ground with his hands behind his back. Seen the inmate set himself on fire in his cell after coming back from court. You name it, I've seen it.
It's traumatizing. I feel like whether working or being an inmate, once you're there, you'll never come out the same. Never.
I know people who've retired and their wives said after a year, 2 years, said, thank God I have my husband back. Because it took 2 years for him to get out of that whole mindset. It changes you. That just being in that environment changes you.
It does. And what's harder too is once you're out, and as like messed up as your mind is, who do you talk to? Like, because even talking to a regular therapist, like, they don't understand what it's like living in there. So they're not gonna be able to talk you through those issues. So it's like you're in a tough spot, and it's gonna take a while to adjust. Some people never adjust. Like, I know I still have habits that I used to have in there, and it's like I don't even know if I'll ever break out of those. But
again, just like I talked about that show 6, it's important to seek out someone who understands. So I went through which is common within the correctional law enforcement field, divorce, right? High rate of alcoholism, suicide, and divorce, and drug dependency, as far as officers go, speaking from the officer side, right? As well as the inmate side, it happens as well. But speaking from the officer side, and so I went through a divorce with my first wife, who was a correctional officer as well. She worked in Connecticut prisons. She ended up committing suicide.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. So I had to go to therapy, a support group, and I needed someone who understood that environment. Mm-hmm. So I sought out somebody who understood that environment, one, and understood martial arts mentality, two. And I found that person. I say that to say this, you know, for your experience, regardless of what side it's on, find somebody. I'm one you can talk to anytime who understands that environment. Mm. You understand? And has a vested interest in seeing you succeed. Because I consider you my family. Mm. You can talk to me anytime, and I don't lie anyway. I would never lie to you. Two things I don't do: lie or litter. I will always give you the best sound information I can.
I appreciate that.
You know, find somebody who understands that environment. I understand that environment. You know, 22 years in that environment on the installment plan. You know what I mean? I was going home every day, but 22 years I worked in that environment.
Yeah, see, one thing that it was tough, but it helped us out was me and my brother getting arrested and sent up together. So we're able to talk to each other now. And that's been one thing that's helped us both through it. And we were even able to be in the same facility. But that only lasted a few months because, yeah, it wasn't the best situation. But it's just good having that person to be able to talk to. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, we've both came home and been able to turn everything around and be successful. And, like, he bought a house. He's got a baby on the way, or a baby that's here now. I've got the house. I've got my kids. We've completely changed everything and been able to show that just because you're a felon doesn't mean that you can't still be successful. You can't be happy in life. You can't want and do better. So that's what we've been trying to show as many people as we can.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now,
absolutely.
You also said that you do martial arts. So you want to let the viewers know a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. My whole life since I was 6 years old, I've started training in 1976. I run an organization called the Underground Alliance right now. Underground Alliance Martial Science Research Association, and I teach karate jutsu, aikido jutsu, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, and judo. Okay. As you know, I have 4 instructors. One of my instructors is your father. And then I have Nori Yasukudo, Takeshi Okamura, and Pat Campagnola as well as instructors, and Mark Whitley, sensei. That's all I've done my entire life. I've written a couple of books on it. Okay. And I run a channel on YouTube called Underground Alliance TV, where there's nothing but 700 training videos on there.
Okay. That's real good. That's a lot of videos. So
yeah. And I traveled the state of Massachusetts as the defensive tactics instructor trainer for the Mass Sheriff's Association, teaching academies and certifying defensive tactics instructors for 22 years. I did that.
Okay. I was just about to ask if you got anything else going on, but I see you got a lot going on. You're staying busy.
Absolutely. I'm currently working on my 3rd book right now. I'm taking my time with that one. But yeah, you know.
That's been a great experience, the whole writing process and putting the book together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was great. I when I heard you wrote yours, and I picked up the first book you wrote, I was very, very impressed and happy for you. That was great.
Like that came from working at the school. I wanted to be able to reach more people after seeing that I was able to make an impact on their lives.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great. That's great.
Thank you. Like I said, I appreciate that. So, is there anything else you'd like to let the viewers know about that you're doing?
No, just I'll be having some self-defense courses coming up for the public, hosted by Martin Luther King Presbyterian Church over there by AIC in Springfield, Mass. They're gonna put some things together. They're gonna host some self-defense courses, self-defense workshops. Other than that, I'm just doing some bodyguard work, doing some security. I run the security at Nathan Bill's restaurant and bar, and writing my books and teaching martial arts. I teach at Iron Hold Jiu-Jitsu in Agawam, 270 Main Street, Agawam, Mass. And I teach at my private dojo.
Okay.
Just doing it, just doing it.
Now, I hope this episode was able to give you the perspective of a correctional officer, as you've already been hearing my point of view for all these episodes. Now, I'd like to thank my special guest, Randy, for coming through and sharing his story with you guys.
Thank you for allowing me to come. And hey, just remember this. If you ever fall and stumble, you can always correct your path in the future. There's nothing can hold you back but you.
That's the truth. Now, my name is Marcus Whitley, and this is Good Behavior. So until the next episode. For more episodes and info, you can find me on all social media at I am Marcus Whitley, and find any of my books, Both Sides of the Street, Choices and Consequences, Greatness Under Pressure, and Battling Demons, all on Amazon. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel.